Chapter 855, Summoning of the Evil God. In the air, the bright sword light that was the little sword saint suddenly started to dim, and the laws of the sword Tao started to spin. Little sword saint. The little sword saint had a smile as his flesh started to become transparent. The smile on his face was still casual and nonchalant. He first glanced at those from Sky Sword Pavilion, then the others within the building of refinement. Amongst that second group, the little sword saint's gaze landed on Zhou Feng, and he nodded his head toward the latter. His understanding of the sword Tao has reached an unfathomable level, and he has given up on life. Zhou Feng was filled with respect. Zhou Feng sensed that the little sword saint's understanding of the sword Tao had reached the level of a peak emperor, or perhaps even the level of a mystic light realm sacred lord. However, the mystic light realm was different from the void god realm. It wasn't just a simple change in the soul. It also placed great importance on the physical aspects. This meant that, even if one's soul reached the requirements to advance, it wouldn't be easy to break through to the mystic light realm if they didn't have the corresponding physical ability. Now, Zhou Feng couldn't even see the level of the little sword saint's sword Tao comprehension. One thing was for sure though. The little sword saint's understanding and mastery of the sword Tao had exceeded all the experts that Zhou Feng had ever seen, including the sword Tao emperors from the true martial sacred land. The little sword saint's flesh started to become fainter like melting snow. What did you say to Senior Sword Saint? The black-robed girl and company looked at Zhou Feng with enmity and dissatisfaction. The little sword saint hadn't reached the end of his life yet, but Zhou Feng said something, and the little sword saint's life force suddenly started to fade faster. So unfortunate. Your life and soul reached their limit at the last moment, otherwise you would just need to take over another body and recultivate. Breaking through to the mystic light realm wouldn't have been a problem in the future, Zhou Feng said regretfully. It was hard for someone to take over another body with just intent or a partial thought. Intent and partial thoughts were made from mental energy and understanding of laws. They didn't have anything to do with the soul on their own. The lowest requirement to take over a body was a partial soul, since that contained a piece of the actual soul. Before demigod Kunyun was reborn through blood, he had imprinted the aura of his soul into the flesh of his immortal sacred body with a special technique when he was still alive. It was because of this that Kunyun only needed one drop of blood and a partial thought to revive. However, the little saint's life and soul reached their limit after they were ignited, which was basically the equivalent of complete death. His life and soul were what was fueling his sword intent. I die with no regrets after surpassing my previous understanding of the sword. The little sword saint revealed a satisfied smile before he died. Wen Jiang. The next instant, a spiritual sword phantom from which the little sword saint's aura could be sensed merged into the rusty bronze sword. Shua. The tattered ancient god's sword started to shake, and a wave of cold green sword light with unrivaled power forced everyone back. However, despite the tattered ancient god's sword's powerful, it didn't harm anyone. Senior Sword Saint. The black-robed girl from Sky Sword Pavilion had a surprised expression as she now held a green tattered sword in her hand. At this moment, everyone's gaze landed on the black-robed girl. She got the ancient god weapon. That Mo Dongyao is a prodigy of Sky Sword Pavilion. Looking at the past several thousand years, her talent in the sword Tao is only below that of the little sword saints. Everyone's gaze locked onto the black-robed Mo Dongyao, the prodigy of Sky Sword Pavilion's young generation. She just fought with Zhou Yufei a moment ago and lost. However, after the little sword saint died, everyone was unable to hide the greed in their eyes as they looked at Mo Dongyao. What kind of effect would an ancient god weapon bring to the entire Lord dynasty? Even if it was some tattered piece of crap, it was still a weapon from the domain of gods and related to the heavenly divine realm. That said, normal forces wouldn't be able to hold onto it even if they managed to steal it. The only forces present with the ability to do so were the Imperials and Sky Suspension Palace. Ancient god weapon. Probably even we don't have one. The 13th prince's eyes were fiery hot. If he was able to take an ancient god weapon back to the imperial family, such a feat would greatly increase his chances of winning the competition to be the sacred emperor. Let's go, Zhou Feng suddenly said, and he walked toward the exit with Nan Gongsheng. He wasn't interested in an ancient god weapon too much. At least, not right now. Putting aside an ancient god weapon, Even substandard God weapons would bring a huge amount of trouble to avoid God realm. Forces that weren't at least 3-star level wouldn't be able to protect the tattered ancient God sword. Zhou Feng and Nan Gongxing turning around was the exact moment the 13th prince decided to take action. Wen Jiang, a sword light suddenly flashed behind Mo Dongyao's back, and it gave off an immortal sword intent that seemed able to slash through heaven and earth. Ugh! All the kings that were planning on taking action, such as the 13th prince, felt their minds hurt. Their souls were like candles blowing in the wind, about to be extinguished at any moment. Fear and despair overtook their hearts. HMPH. A half-transparent sword-light figure formed the outline of the little sword saint. Spare me, Senior Sword Saint. Please spare me. The kings that were planning on taking action felt like they were facing the little sword saint when he was at his peak. All the kings suddenly felt like their souls were tiny in comparison. Even Xuani Yuanwen's soul shook. He was like a small tree in a hurricane. A pure soul type sword Dao attack. Are these the laws of the soul sword? Zhou Feng murmured. Mo Dongyo held the tattered ancient god sword and gave off an immortal and undying sword aura. The pressure of an ancient god weapon suppressed everyone present, and the king's hearts jumped. They didn't have the ability to even think about fighting back. How is this possible? How can Mo Dongyao control the ancient god weapon? The 13th prince's face was white, and he felt unable to breathe. At this moment, Mo Dongyo could kill him with just a thought. Even normal emperors wouldn't dare to clash with Mo Dongyo head on right now. Mo Dongyo is just the wielder. The true controller of the tattered ancient god sword is the little sword saint. Senior Marshal Brothers Yuge took a deep breath. The little sword saint gained the recognition from the tattered ancient god sword, then turned into a soul sword and merged with it. This meant that the little sword saint could decide who got to control the ancient god weapon. To a certain extent, the little sword saint was basically a sword spirit now. Little friend, an old voice sounded from the half-transparent sword-light figure behind Mo Dongyao's back. Zhou Feng's footsteps stopped. He turned around and looked toward Mo Dongyao, confirming that the voice was calling him. Senior Sword Saint, is there anything you need? Zhou Feng didn't dare to be disrespectful. Even thought he had given up his life and now existed as a spirit. The little sword saint was countless times stronger than before in his current state. Little friend. The old voice gave a sigh. There's only 20 days left till the Black Serpent Dragon charges into Ziyang Palace, and no one will be able to survive. I hope you can help everyone resolve the danger. Hearing that, everyone was stunned. The little sword saint placed his hope on one of the demonic duo. Not Xuani Yuanwen or the three princes, but a wicked youth that was infamous for stealing. However, they had to admit that no one here could see through Zhou Feng, and they were full of wariness and caution toward him. Me? Zhou Feng laughed, as if he had heard a joke. His expression was saying, you want a thief to save everyone? Isn't that a bit childish? I don't know where you come from nor your background, but I can confirm that, out of everyone here, you're the most likely one to succeed. This isn't just my instinct, the ancient god weapon feels the same. The old voice said solemnly. The ancient god weapon? Zhou Feng's heart shook. Could the ancient god weapon sense the existence of his ninth god's eye? His left eye bloodline came from a deity in the ancient era, and the ancient god weapon was a weapon of gods and was related to the domain of the heavenly divine realm. If you can take the Sky Sword Pavilion members and escape, I will owe you a favor, the white sword light figure promised. Deal. A light flashed through Zhou Feng's eyes. Although the little sword saint's life had come to an end, his current state was even more terrifying than before. Besides, Zhou Feng alone wasn't enough to deal with the Black Destruction Serpent Dragon anyway. A while later, the leaders of all the forces gathered in front of the Building of Refinement. This time, Zhou Feng and Nan Gongxing weren't acting alone. That purple crystal tower is the core of Ziyang Palace, Zhou Feng said as everyone's gaze landed on the magnificent purple crystal tower that shot into the sky. The tower was at the very center of Ziyang Palace, and its pressure shook all the king's hearts. The key to the Yuan sealing divine chains and the center of the god's forbidden array are most likely there, Senior Marshal Brothers Yuge said. Since the danger of the Black Destruction Serpent King was coming closer, no one had the heart to search for other fortune in Ziyang Palace. Although they might have only scouted out 1/10 or even 1/100th of the fortune within Ziyang Palace, what was the point if you couldn't leave with it alive? let's go. The Great Gon Imperials were the first to leave and head in the direction of the Purple Crystal Tower. Those from the Sky Suspension Palace, the Duanmu family, and company then followed. Let's go. Zhou Feng and Nan Gongxing also headed toward the Purple Crystal Tower, and the group from Sky Sword Pavilion followed behind the purple-haired demonic duo. If it wasn't for Senior Sword Saint, I wouldn't follow these two thieves. Mo Dongyao's face was cold and unwilling, but they felt calm for some reason when following the purple-haired demonic duo. We're getting closer to the call of that power. The purple and blood-colored symbol on Nan Gongxing's forehead started to become hotter. It was like a second heart as it thumped on his forehead. Chapter 856, Evil Sky Tower. The danger was slowly approaching, and all the elites within Ziyang Palace began to make their way toward the Purple Crystal Tower at the very center. Zhou Feng and Nan Gongxing were currently with the people of Sky Sword Pavilion because of the deal between Zhou Feng and the Little Sword Saint. As of right now, resolving the threat of the Black Destruction Serpent Dragon is the most important thing. Zhou Feng sighed in his heart. They hadn't scouted much in Ziyang Palace. At the very most, they had only seen 1/10 of the palace. However, no amount of treasure was as important as their lives. Everyone had less than 20 days left, which was why Zhou Feng agreed to the Little Sword Saint so quickly. If Zhou Feng and Nan Gongxing were concerned with profit at this point, they wouldn't have joined a group since it was easier by themselves. On the way, Zhou Feng found that the wicked power within Nan Gongxing's body was acting unusually, and Nan Gongxing's expression was solemn but excited. And now, Nan Gongxing can still maintain his attitude, but the evil god crystal is corrupting him more and more. Who knows how long the Mind Calming Pearl, Water Soul Pearl, and Green Water Sky Lotuses will have an effect. Zhou Feng was slightly worried. He would respect Nan Gongxing's decision. He agreed to help, so he would. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The Purple Crystal Tower in sight started to become bigger. Every bit closer they got, the stronger the force from the Purple Crystal Tower. The Purple Crystal Tower contains a supreme power. Just the slightest bit of ore leaking from it is so terrifying. Mo Dongyao's tattered ancient god sword sensed something. She then glanced toward Nan Gongxing. Everyone's heart started to thump under the terrifying aura, and even the true yuan within their bodies started to tremble uneasily. Only Nan Gongxing was excited, and some force within his body was extremely active. Although the Purple Crystal Tower didn't seem far away, it was. A couple hours after they left, the Imperials and Sky Suspension Palace arrived first. What a terrifying aura! This Purple Crystal Tower probably contains some of the remaining power of the evil god Ziyang. Senior Marshal Brothers Yuge had a solemn expression. No one knew why the sealed power within the Purple Crystal Tower started to become active, but the pressure radiating from it almost made everyone unable to use their true yuan at all. The groups from the Duanmu family, Sky Sword Pavilion, and some other forces soon arrived as well. Other people have been here before. Nan Gongxing's nose twitched as the scarlet golden nose ring shook slightly. This scarlet golden nose ring came from a golden skeleton within a ruined city, and it had a super sense of smell. It could be used to track others and even smell the element of various treasures. Zhou Feng's shoes came from the golden skeleton as well, but they exploded after being damaged in the building of refinement. As soon as Nan Gongxing said that, Blop! The silent door to the Purple Crystal Tower opened, and two figures rolled out. It's Zhu Wuji. A bald male in dark battle robes caught everyone's attention. Both of these figures were from Nine Darkness Palace. Zhu Wuji was able to steady his emotions a bit, but he was unable to hide the shock on his face. The other king was ruffled and seemed as if he had lost his soul. Brother Zhu, what's the situation like inside the tower? A king asked curiously. This tower should be the ancient god Ziyang's place of cultivation, and it contains a terrifying power that suppresses all outside forces. Zhu Wuji forced himself to calm down and take a deep breath. The two figures sat on the ground and were drenched in cold sweat. We didn't see any living things in the tower, but our souls and true yuan were completely suppressed. We couldn't even use them, the other king said with shock. Both the soul and true yuan were suppressed. Xuani Yuanwen and company all looked at each other as they started to analyze the situation within the Purple Crystal Tower. Without a doubt, the Purple Crystal Tower should be the center of Ziyang Palace. Whoosh, whoosh. At this moment in time, The groups from some other forces could be seen around the Purple Crystal Tower. Amongst them were the forces from the Ji family, Grand Duke Xi's palace, and the Jiang family. "We can't enter its depths," Jilan said. The various forces were all spread out in Ziyang Palace, and some forces had arrived earlier than others. There might have been a small number of groups still in places like the Building of Refinement or Dark Book Room, but as time passed, everyone would approach the center of Ziyang Palace from the threat of dying to the Black Destruction Serpent Dragon. Sang, whoosh. A male in a t-shirt landed on a roof of the Purple Crystal Tower. Sin Wung. The male in the t-shirt was alone, and he stood out. Sin Wung stood with his hands behind his back, and he had a solemn expression as he looked over the groups from the Sky Suspension Palace, the Imperials, Zhou Feng and Nan Gongsheng, and Mo Danyil. This Purple Crystal Tower is called the Evil Sky Tower, and it has some remaining god power left. Although it's very weak and not even 1/1000th of its peak, it can suppress anything below the demigod level. Sin Wu let out a long breath. Evil Sky Tower? Everyone felt weird. How did Sin Wu know the name of this tower? Sin Wu, does that mean you've already entered it? Zhou Feng asked. Sin Wu nodded his head. He had indeed gone inside, but he failed. In addition, Sin Wu had already done some scouting. All of the buildings around Evil Sky Tower were important, and many of them had the God's Forbidden Array guarding them. The Evil Sky Tower still has a bit of god power remaining. It suppresses True Yuan the strongest, then the soul and body. In other words, the higher cultivation one has, the more of a disadvantage they'll have, Sin Wu explained. The failures of Zhu Wuji and Sin Wu made most of the people give up on the Evil Sky Tower. "I want to try," Nan Gongsheng said. The purple and blood-colored mark on his forehead blinked, and the summoning sensation was more than 10 times stronger than before. "I don't have a problem with that." Sin Wu glanced toward Nan Gongsheng as if he was thinking about something. "I came here to tell you all some more important news." It was obvious that Sin Wu wasn't very interested in the Evil Sky Tower itself. The most important task was how to escape from the Black Destruction Serpent Dragon. Important news? Everyone's eyes landed on Sin Wung's face. Sin Wung was the same as Zhou Feng. They were both mysterious figures shrouded in mist, and none of the kings were able to see through them. "I found the core of the God's Forbidden Array," Sin Wung said straightforwardly. Hearing this, everyone's heart shook. The Black Destruction Serpent Dragon mentioned 2 points when threatening them. The first was the key to the Yuan Sealing Divine Chains, and the second was the core of the God's Forbidden Array. Obtaining the key or destroying the core would spare them from the Black Destruction Serpent Dragon's wrath. No one expected that Sin Wung had already found it. "Puny humans, the God's Forbidden Array is full of flaws, but if you destroy the core, I will spare you." A voice that reigned supreme sounded in the ears of everyone present. The Black Serpent Dragon's voice could be clearly heard by those who had the Mark of Destruction. "God's Forbidden Array? Take us there quickly. This may be our chance to turn the tide." Senior Marshal Brothers Yuge revealed a joyful expression, and Zhou Feng also revealed some emotions. Senior Marshal Brothers Yuge's thoughts were the same as his own. "That's my plan as well. My strength is limited." Sin Wu nodded his head. He found the core to the God's Forbidden Array, but his strength was limited, so he was unable to turn the tide alone. "Puny humans, you can't control the God's Forbidden Array nor use it to threaten me," the Black Serpent Dragon mocked. In Ziyang Palace, the God's Forbidden Array could be considered a big net that covered everything inside and out. As long as they found the core gained control of it, they would be able to control the entire God's Forbidden Array as well. This was the first thought that Zhou Feng had when he entered Ziyang Palace. It wasn't just him that had this plan either. There was also Senior Marshal Brothers Yuge, Sin Wu, and some others. There were also people that were thinking about the key to the Yuan Sealing Divine Chains. If they were able to obtain the key, they could use it to threaten the Black Destruction Serpent Dragon. After all, there was very likely only one key. "The core of the God's Forbidden Array is behind us." Sin Wu turned around, and everyone saw a dark silver building made of a metallic material, and it didn't have an entrance. There was no way to enter, and before they could even get close, they felt an enormous force from the God's Forbidden Array. "This building is called the God's Array Building, and all of the switches to the Forbidden Array are located here," Sin Wu explained, and the various groups started to head toward the God's Array Building. The Evil Sky Tower and the God's Array Building were right next to each other. Of course, There was still a small number of people that stayed next to the evil sky tower and didn't give up. Amongst them were Xuan Yuanwen, the ninth prince, the purple-haired demonic duo, Zhou Yufei, Luo Xun, and Mo Danyil. There were more than a dozen kings that wanted to give it a try. It doesn't matter if you give it a try. Xin Wen wasn't against it. Just know when to give up. Although the evil sky tower won't threaten your life, it can do some strange stuff. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. As soon as those words finished, all the figures started to head toward the evil sky tower. After all, the evil sky tower was where the ancient god Ziyang cultivated, and it was the center of Ziyang Palace. The others gathered at the God's Array building and tried to find a way to enter it. There's nothing wrong with just witnessing the power of a god. Xuan Yuanwen entered the evil sky tower with the fastest speed. Behind him was the ninth prince, Zhou Yufei, the purple-haired demonic duo, and the rest. The ninth prince was originally ranked 13th on the Imperial Genius rankings, but his cultivation had reached the peak tier king level after entering Ziyang Palace. Hu tilde boom. The instant they stepped into the evil sky tower, a wicked door appeared. It seemed able to shatter heaven and earth. The weaker kings almost spat out blood, and Zhou Feng felt his body become heavy as the true yuan in his body seemed to freeze. True yuan is almost completely restricted here. Some of the Void God Realm kings felt extremely troubled after entering the tower. Since Zhou Feng's level of true yuan was the lowest, he just gave up control of his true yuan and let the aura suppress it.